The world is full of mysterious secret entrances and bases. From an underground base in the desert to the sealed secrets of ancient Peru, let's jump right in. Aliens in the desert. Dulce is a small southwestern town in New Mexico. It's so small there isn't even a traffic light. That's how small and seemingly unexceptional it is. And yet somewhere in the vicinity of Dulce's rugged desert hills is said to be an entrance to an underground alien base. Dulce could be the real Area 51. Rumors of a base here have been around since before the Roswell incident of 1947. Whispers of secret government activity in Dulce started in the 1930s. Then, in the 1970s, things got weird. Unexplained cattle mutilations were reported throughout the area. Police trooper Gabe Valdez went on record saying that along with mutilated cattle, he was finding gas masks, glow sticks, and other advanced pieces of equipment. Somebody with access to military technology was mutilating cows for an unknown reason. Valdez made some other wild claims as well. He said he frequently saw silent spacecraft moving through the sky above Dulce. When investigating one of the cattle mutilations, the trooper found what he described as a monkey-frog-human hybrid fetus. The fetus had been implanted into a cow prior to its death. The fetus had no bones in its head at all and was full of water. Valdez believed it to be a botched experiment from the scientists working in this secret facility. There have been a lot of other outrageous claims from people other than Gabe Valdez. Former police officer Tim Anderson witnessed a UFO in the 1990s. According to what he told the Santa Fe New Mexican, the UFO was so bright it lit up the entire valley. Then it disappeared into the rocks as if entering a secret base. The government denies any unusual activity in the town of Dulce. But then, if they were working with aliens, they would deny it, wouldn't they? What do you think is really happening in this quiet New Mexican town? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Paddock. There is a secret entrance to a secret bunker in the suburbs of London. The underground facility was once used as reserve headquarters for Winston Churchill's war cabinet. These days, it's a creepy, empty, and dark piece of London's tumultuous past. In 1937, plans were laid to create a safe place for the central government in London. They needed an underground bunker where all the most important military generals and government officials could hide in case of an all-out German attack. In 1938, 4 bunkers were authorized. Each of the most important government branches would have their own bunker. The Paddock was the name given to the emergency war headquarters, and it was where all the MVPs would go. Construction began in earnest in 1939 with the onset of World War II. Total secrecy obscured the creation of this place. 40 rooms were hollowed out of the earth across 2 floors. In 1940, the first meeting took place inside the bunker. But Winston Churchill didn't like it. He said there was no way his cabinet could live and work in such conditions. The second meeting took place in 1941. It would be the last meeting ever held inside the Paddock. When Germany invaded the Soviet Union, it became clear to British officials that England was no longer in a dire position. Germany had poked the bear and were in for a long and brutal war. The Paddock was no longer a necessary last resort. By 1944, it was made redundant. So much work just to host 2 meetings. In the aftermath of the war, the underground facility was used by the post office. It was abandoned in 1976 and remains deserted beneath London to this very day. And now for a quick break because it's shout-out time! I want to give a big thank you to Shayna McCoy and Jeremy Moore for supporting this channel. Thanks so much for watching and spending time with us. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button to join the Origins Explained family. Mvko Monastery. In South Bohemia, archaeologists made a rather unusual discovery at a religious building. They were creating a 3D scan of the Mvko Monastery in the Czech Republic when they unearthed the entrance to a hidden corridor. The corridor extends unseen behind a medieval wall. It may have once been used to hide priceless treasures. The monastery is ancient, originally founded in the year 1187. It lasted until about 1420, when it was set ablaze by the Hussites during the Hussite Wars. The history of the Hussite Wars is hugely complicated, so let me try to compress it into a digestible format. The wars were fought between the forces of Rome and the Hussites. On the side of Rome was the Vatican and the Holy Roman Emperor. The Hussites were Protestant Christians living in what is now Czech. They were highly influenced by Jan Hus, who was the man behind the Bohemian Reformation. Jan was executed by the Catholic Church in 1415 for heresy. This kicked off a series of civil wars, which lasted until 1434. The Hussites did surprisingly well against all the forces of the Roman Catholic Church. In the end, they were allowed to continue practicing their form of Protestantism. Before the war ended, the Mvko Monastery was burned and taken over by nobility. But before it was burned, legend has it the abbot stashed treasure in a secret underground room. Valuable items from local castles were collected and stashed somewhere in the monastery. Then, enemy soldiers showed up and burned the place down. The monastery didn't return to its former glory for 200 years after the wars. Then, in 1785, the order was abolished and the monastery was abandoned. Only in the 1990s did the monastery begin to undergo reconstruction. And now the mysterious underground tunnel has been found. Archaeologists don't know what's inside the passage yet. They believe the legendary treasure could be in there somewhere. The entrance to the Underworld. In 1674, Spanish priest Francisco de Burgoa visited the ruins of Mitla in what is now Mexico's Oaxaca state. The ruins were phenomenal, left behind by the powerful Zapotec civilization hundreds of years ago. Francisco published his account of what he saw, detailing a huge underground temple. The underground temple had 4 massive interconnecting chambers. It also featured a monumental stone door that led deeper into the earth, down into a black cavern. The Spanish priest claimed the Zapotec believed the cavern was an entrance to their version of hell. Not necessarily hell, but an underworld more similar to Hades in Greek mythology. The Zapotec called it Laoba, the place of rest. According to Francisco, his Spanish comrades also explored the ruins and were terrified by the portal to the underworld. They were so scared of the local lore and of the strange powers of the Zapotec, they sealed its entrance. They destroyed the underground temple and built a Catholic church upon its ruins. For the first time since the 17th century, the portal to Laoba has been seen by human eyes. An international team of archaeologists used ground-penetrating radar and seismic noise tomography to find it. Their scans showed evidence of a subterranean labyrinth underneath Mitla. They believe the labyrinth is the one that Francisco de Burgoa wrote about. Somewhere deep within the earth is the lost entrance to Laoba that the Spanish were so afraid of. Unfortunately, the discovery is very new. Archaeologists have only identified what they believe to be the entrance. They still need to clear away the debris and tunnel into the destroyed complex. It will be a long time before the entrance to this Zapotec underworld is exposed. The Holy Grail. In 2020, archaeologists discovered the entrance to a secret crypt underneath a chapel in Poland. The initial thought was that the crypt could lead researchers to the location of the legendary Holy Grail. What is the Holy Grail anyway? It isn't just a fancy cup. It is the Grail used by Jesus Christ during the Last Supper. When Jesus told his disciples to drink the wine, for it was his blood, he held in his hand the very artifact that would become the Holy Grail. It's the most valuable cup in existence, yet nobody knows if it's real or where it might be today. One popular theory is that the Grail found its way to Poland, where it was hidden underneath the fountains of an isolated chapel. The chapel was built by none other than the Knights Templar. The legend is based 100% in reality. In western Poland, in a small village, is the chapel of Saint Stanislaus. It was built by the Templars in 1232. The Templars used it as a place to worship God and as one of their many defensive fortifications. Within the church are the bodies of several Templar knights. This is a legitimate piece of Templar history. According to a local historian named Merrick, the legend says the Templars buried a wooden box filled with gold coins and the Holy Grail. Now, archaeologists have used ground-penetrating radar to detect secret Gothic crypts beneath the chapel. There also appears to be an old well, which may have been used as an entrance to a secret tunnel. Archaeologist Przemysław Kolakowski said it is going to be an exhaustive investigation. The secret underground tunnel could run all the way to the neighboring town, which also happened to be settled by Templars in the 13th century. Researchers could be on the cusp of finding the actual Holy Grail. The sealed Peruvian tunnel. At a Peruvian temple used 3,000 years ago, archaeologists found the entrance to a secret underground tunnel. 190 miles north from the modern capital of Lima, this mysterious tunnel was sealed before the Inca Empire even existed. Scientists are calling it the Condor's Passageway. It was uncovered at the UNESCO World Heritage Site of Chavín de Huántar. The site was once an epic city founded by the Chavín culture. It had grand temples, strong walls, and stood at the foot of the Andes. Professor John Rick at Stanford was the man behind the discovery. He and his team of researchers used robots equipped with cameras to explore the previously sealed tunnel. They believe it collapsed due to flooding and remained untouched for centuries. At the start of the tunnel, the robots discovered a massive piece of ceramic weighing 37 pounds. On the ceramic is the image of a condor with its wings spread. Since it was found at the entrance of the passageway, archaeologists are confident that something truly remarkable will be found deeper inside. There could be a tomb at the end of the tunnel, perhaps containing the mummified remains of a Chavín king or queen. Pine Gap. Moving back to the modern world, let's take a trip to Australia. Deep in the hot, sunny, and snake-strewn outback is a top-secret CIA spy base. It's called Pine Gap, located outside Alice Springs in Australia's Northern Territory. The official word from the government is that the facility is used as a satellite tracking station. It's operated by various intelligence agencies in the US, despite the fact it's in Australia. But what's really going on at Pine Gap? First, let's look at its creation. In the 1970s, 400 American families were moved into the middle of the Australian outback to begin operations. The operation grew and grew. Now Pine Gap is considered one of the most important intelligence facilities in the world. You can't go in, but you can look at it from the outside. There are all these giant white spheres on the other side of an impassable fence. It's obvious at a glance that Pine Gap boasts serious security and serious tech. Here's what I can tell you for sure. The facility controls spy satellites peeping on countries like North Korea and Russia. The giant white domes inside the fence are used for things like early warning missile strikes, missile defense systems, and targeting drone strikes. But there is a lot of secrecy surrounding the base as well. In 2018, a group known as Privacy International learned of secret rooms inside the base where no Australians have ever been allowed to enter. Much of the facility is undoubtedly underground, far from the prying eyes of satellites. What exactly is going on in the Australian outback? The Nazi bunker. A mysterious doorway has been found in Antarctica. The entranceway could lead to the legendary Nazi bunker that was supposedly built in Antarctica over 70 years ago. The mysterious doorway wasn't found by archaeologists on the ground. It was identified on Google Maps by enthusiastic internet sleuths. Images from Google show what appears to be a huge square on the side of an ice sheet. It isn't officially a door since it's only been seen via satellite images. Some think it might be nothing but a door-shaped shadow, but conspiracy theorists are confident the anomaly is proof of either a Nazi bunker, a secret US base, or an alien playground. The Nazi bunker is the most popular conspiracy theory at the moment to explain the doorway. In 1938, an expedition was sent to Antarctica by Adolf Hitler himself. Historians say it was to obtain whale oil, something a lot of nations in Europe were doing at the time. But ever since the 1940s, there have been rumors that the real purpose of the mission was to build an ice base. Now it looks like the door to that ice base may have been discovered. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. The Secret Tunnels of Annapolis. In 1918, Catherine Scarborough wrote for the Baltimore Sun. She was a phenomenal writer at a time when women didn't really have jobs like that. She was a journalist and writer for 40 years until her death in 1960. One of the weirdest stories she ever did was on these secret tunnels hidden beneath Annapolis. In 1953, Catherine interviewed a retired Navy admiral. A mysterious chamber had been found underneath a liquor store in downtown Annapolis. The liquor store was undergoing renovations when the subterranean chamber was uncovered 6 feet deep. Admiral Colby Rucker believed the chamber was a portion of a much larger network of secret corridors underneath the city. It's one of the most persistent rumors in Annapolis history and one of its greatest urban legends. It's believed there are secret tunnels hidden all across the city, though nobody knows who built them or how old they are. One extended from a tavern on Franklin Street all the way to the courthouse, but all of the entrances have been lost. The chamber discovered in 1953 has been the only reliable piece of evidence that the hidden network exists. Most of the tunnels have undoubtedly collapsed. If there were entrances, they have been buried by time and progress. They may have been used in the earliest days of the city, back in the 18th century, by smugglers. Thanks for watching! Which of these mysterious places would you like to explore? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and come back soon. Bye! Thanks for watching! Be sure to stay tuned for extra content you might have missed. Supercar Test Track. Royal Air Force Base Hethel in the county of Norfolk in England had a varied history as an airbase. In the 1940s, it was home to the American 389th Bomber Group, known as the Sky Scorpions, and its runway was used to launch countless vital missions during the Second World War. Nowadays, though, the 55-acre site is used for the manufacture and testing of cars by Lotus. About 2,000 cars are built here each year by hand, and the runway has proven to be an ideal test track to perfect their designs. From road cars to supercars to hypercars, this site has seen it all. It's no coincidence that Lotus has ended up here. The company's founder, Colin Chapman, was a former Royal Air Force pilot, and he was well aware of the number of bases across the country that were available to be repurposed. He managed to acquire the Hethel base in 1966, and since then, Lotus has been going from strength to strength. Survival condos. Atlas missiles were the first design of intercontinental ballistic missiles that the U.S. brought into operation in 1959, and were equipped with warheads that were more than 100 times as powerful as the bomb that was dropped on Nagasaki 14 years earlier. They went through a series of alterations, and when the fourth versions were developed, they were housed in underground silos where they could be fueled and prepared for launch. Fortunately, these weapons were never needed, and since they were decommissioned, there are now a number of silos across America that lay unused. They're a popular military site for redevelopment, and one company has begun to use them to build luxury survival condos. With 9-foot-thick concrete walls and large domes covering them that can withstand winds of up to 500 miles per hour, these sites were designed to withstand nuclear strikes and make for the ideal survival shelters. With independent electricity generators and water supplies, air filtration systems, and hydroponic farms, these condos also come with a pool, spa, gym, and a library, classroom, and even a movie theater. Each silo, once adapted, is designed to accommodate up to 70 people across 7 floors and come with enough dried food to survive for 5 years without needing additional supplies. A floor designed for up to 10 people comes with a starting cost of $3 million, which seems like a bargain when the safety of your family in an apocalypse is at stake. The Pangu Shingan Cactus Park. There is a military base in Taiwan which had been abandoned since the Second World War. The Coast Guard remained in control of the derelict site until 2008, but the local government had other plans for the space, so they took control of it in that year. Following 7 years of meticulous planning and construction, it reopened in 2015 as the Pangu Shingan Cactus Park. Yep, you heard that right. This former military complex is now a space dedicated to the prickly plants. It's divided into 2 main parts, the first being a series of cactus greenhouses and the second being an artist's village. Everything is connected together with walkways and recreational areas, all of which are decorated with cactus-inspired motifs. Everything is designed to maximize water efficiency and to help the plants grow, with the intent of the park to blend the natural and artificial and to focus on the region's ecological diversity. So unusual and spectacular is this site that it won the 2017 American Architectural Prize for the design of agricultural buildings, and it now attracts tourists from around the world. Have any of you been there? Let me know in the comments below. An urban farm.
Space in cities is becoming increasingly limited, so in Clapham in London, a company has developed a unique way of repurposing a bomb shelter. Built during the Second World War as a refuge from the constant attacks of the Luftwaffe, the 100-foot deep and 1,400-foot long network of tunnels was large enough to accommodate up to 8,000 people. In recent years, there have been attempts to use the facility for musical events, but the lack of fire exits mean it doesn't fulfill modern-day safety requirements. One thing that doesn't need an escape route, though, is plants, and the tunnels have now become a large underground farm. By using LEDs and hydroponics, the farmers are able to grow broccoli, pak choi, pea shoots, rocket, and red lion mustard with 70% less water than would be needed in a traditional farm setup. With population numbers continually increasing in the city, it's possible that initiatives like this could go a long way to helping them be more self-sufficient and less reliant on important vegetables from elsewhere. The Null Stern Hotel. If you've seen images of underground bunkers and thought they would make for quite a boring and uninspired place to stay, then you might be right if the Null Stern Hotel in Switzerland is anything to go by. Built inside a 1980s nuclear fallout bunker in the small Swiss town of Tufen, close to the Austrian border, the hotel's creators bill it as the world's first zero-star hotel. Originally designed to accommodate as many as 200 people, the concrete structure and its 2-foot-thick blast doors can protect from nuclear and chemical attack, but now sleeps just 14 people in 2 large open-plan rooms. It's hardly the height of luxury, but that's exactly what its designers wanted. With a further 25,000 similar shelters across the Swiss countryside, maybe this could be the future of tourism. The Navy Yard. Some military bases were built in what is now prime real estate, and their redevelopment has helped local businesses and communities thrive. The Navy Yard in Philadelphia, once home to one of the U.S. Navy's most important shipyards for nearly 200 years, is now considered to be the most successful case of military redevelopment anywhere in America. Following a $1 billion investment, it is now a commercial hub that hosts more than 150 companies and 13,500 employees. The beautiful brick buildings and warehouses have been preserved and are now home to the likes of Urban Outfitters, GSK, technology startups, research facilities, and a part of Penn State University. The 1,200-acre site now offers 7.5 million square feet of building space, but this is planned to be more than doubled by the time the redevelopment is complete. It's the prime example of how disused bases can be adapted to create vibrant spaces, and will act as a blueprint for similar plans in the future. A TV game show. The English Channel between England and France is full of military structures from over the centuries and is a place that shows how tense the relations across Europe have been throughout history. One of the most famous of these sites is Fort Boyard, not necessarily because of its military prowess, but because of its use in recent years as the site of a TV game show. It took more than 50 years for the French to complete construction of the fort, which was finally ready to use in 1857. It became a vital piece in their defense of the passage between Aix Island and Oleron Island from the British fleet. Costing more than 8 million francs, it was no longer needed once it was finished, so it became a military prison in 1870 before being fully abandoned in 1913. The fort began a fresh lease on life in 1990, though, when someone came up with the idea of using it as the location for a game show. Known as Fort Boyard, it sees contestants carrying out a variety of challenges across the sea fort before entering the treasure room in a race to win a prize being guarded by tigers. The show is France's most popular TV format to have been exported throughout the world, and more than 33 countries have produced their own version since the original, including Russia, Brazil, Morocco, Switzerland, and the US. The Las Vegas Underground House. About 2 miles to the east of the world-famous Las Vegas Strip is a 14,620 square foot bunker that was designed to withstand a direct hit during a nuclear war. It's not your typical bunker, though, and has become famed for its outlandish design that feels like you're being transported back to the 70s. The home contains a yard with fake trees and flowers, a pool, 2 jacuzzis, a sauna, a nightclub bar, a barbecue and a fountain, and even a putting green. With 5 bedrooms and 6 bathrooms, this one-of-a-kind house has 2 elevators, a whole lot of pink, and lighting that simulates day and night. At $18 million, this may not be a feasible investment for most people, but it just goes to show how much can be done with an underground space that traditionally would feel sterile and surrounded by concrete walls. The Aroostook National Wildlife Reserve. With so many abandoned bunkers around the world, people have come up with some ingenious solutions for what to do with them. One of the most environmentally conscious ideas has been put into place in Maine, where 2 bunkers at the former Loring Air Base have been turned into a wildlife reserve. White nose syndrome is an increasing threat to bat populations across America, and by 2018 had been responsible for killing millions of bats, and decimating numbers of 15 different species. The bunkers in Maine have been designed to protect bats from the fungus, where artificial roosting spots and CCTV have allowed the new arrivals to thrive and enable researchers to closely monitor them. One of the reasons why this is so effective is that the fungus that causes the disease doesn't actually need bats to survive, so it exists in the soil of their normal habitats. Using human-built structures means that the area can be easily cleaned whenever necessary, and the spread can be kept under control. It's hoped that projects like this, while they won't cure the problem, will help to understand white nose syndrome much better, and at least provide a way to keep some populations safe from its spread. The Tropical Islands Resort. This just may be the most exciting use of a military base anywhere in the world. The Tropical Islands Resort. Opened in 1938, the land was originally a Nazi airfield that was overrun by the Soviets 7 years later. Following the reunification of Germany, the government began building what is now the third largest structure on Earth, which was to be used as a construction yard for airships. The company that owned it went out of business in 2002, at which point it was purchased by a Malaysian consortium who had one plan in mind: to make this a tropical wonderland. Now, the two huge 600-ton doors at either end remain shut, and inside there's a theme park split into 4 sections: the Tropical Village, the Rainforest, the Tropical Sea, and the Bali Lagoon. The Rainforest section itself is the world's largest indoor rainforest replica, with more than 50,000 plants. Along with this are countless whirlpools, jacuzzis, water slides, pools, and waterfalls. There are 13 restaurants, a mini golf course, and even a balloon ride that lifts you 200 feet above the lagoon. This is so far beyond what the original Nazi designers had in mind for the airfield in the 30s, and simply has to be the best way in which a military base has been repurposed anywhere in the world. Thanks for watching! Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye!